y'all's thoughts on the transfer portal right now with Tennessee because, man, the past 24 hours, it's been crazy. I tried to stay up all night yesterday just to see what was going to happen all the way towards the end. I thought that we got to the finish line right there at midnight without really losing anybody that we, felt like we would need. And it just, I don't know. I feel like I woke up and maybe I just missed it or something, but I feel like I woke up and all of a sudden, what the heck? Mike Matthews done hit the daggone portal. So please do make sure to like and subscribe whenever y'all do come in. I do have a poll up, just asking y'all's thoughts on it. Do you think that Mike Matthews is going to stick with Tennessee or is he gone? Please do vote on that, and I'll check on it here in just a minute. But I probably don't have a whole lot to add to what most of y'all probably know because we get the information from pretty much the same places. But I will give you my outlook and my perspective on things. So some of the things that I do want to talk about today is obviously with Mike Matthews leaving, some of the talk about Nico and what went on with him last night. And I want to talk about Coach Pope because there's a lot of people calling for his job. At this point, there's 6 wide receivers in the transfer portal from Tennessee. I'll give you my outlook on that. And also some of the things that I've heard about what Tennessee wants to do moving forward inside of the portal, I think is actually, it's a pretty optimistic look, I feel like, for our Tennessee Volunteers. But let's start off. Actually, let me go ahead and get to some of these chats. Let's just see what all people are saying coming in right here from JD TCOL saying at this point, any player feels tempted to flirt around with the transfer portal and or finds ways to get more money. I don't know if I read that right. Yeah, so I think he's basically saying that any player that's going to the portal is trying to find ways to get more money. I think that might be a large portion of most of this stuff, but we'll kind of get into some of my thoughts with that here in just a minute. But I don't know if that's 100% of all the reasons. Adam Fowler saying, "What's up, boy? What's going on, Adam? Thank y'all for joining us." Adam is also saying, "Not looking good for us at the moment." All right, so excuse me. Let me just start this thing off with some of my initial thoughts. And I'm going to start off with Tennessee doing a good job of holding on to players because we talked about it yesterday that Chris Brazzell was a guy that was rumored that might go into the portal. Tennessee retained him. We needed him. 6'5", 200-pound wide receiver on the outside, which is where I think Tennessee is the thinnest at wide receiver. We needed to hold on to Chris Brazzell. He's a 4'4", 40 guy, probably got like a 40-inch vertical, very long arms, wide catch radius. He can do a lot of things. I think that he will see a lot of productivity with Nico next season. Also, Ricky Gibson had some cryptic posts out there, kind of looked like he was flirting around with the portal. There's been a whole lot of like weird little posts and stuff like that going on here. And I don't know if it started off with Boo. I'm not trying to blame Boo for this, but it kind of felt like with how that got shared on social media and how, like the fans were, like in an uproar, that it has created this trend amongst our players, and I'm sure that it's the same in certain situations with different programs. I don't too much care about the other programs. I care about us. So, it seems like there's a lot of players that are just throwing out some cryptic tweets or posts, whatever, on social media. So I think that, number one, we have to be very careful with engaging with that type of stuff. If we want it to stop, that's a good way for us to help that stop. But really, I think that that's on Coach Heupel, man. Like, you've got to look at your current roster and you got to say, look, if you want to handle some business, let's handle this the correct way. It does not need to be public. Like, don't put it out there. He needs to find a way to I don't want to necessarily say punish, but there needs to be some form of punishment for players that are putting the stuff out there in any way, shape, form, or fashion that could be taken that could be taken like, hey, this is something negative, because I think that the players are now starting to kind of feed into this, and that is an issue. I think that NIL transfer portal, there's several things that need to get fixed with it. But for me, I'm mad at the people at the top because they've been taking away money from these players for a very, very long time, and they're the ones that are hindering us from being able to move forward so that the transfer portal rules and all that stuff can be fixed. Because, to my knowledge, and I'm not a lawyer or nothing like that, but from my understanding, the reason that you can't really even put a limit on how many times a player can transfer, there is a rule set in place. But if somebody transfers, like, let's say, if someone was to transfer today, while the portal, or if they did it yesterday, whenever the portal was open, okay, and then, if they wanted to transfer again, then, now that the transfer portal is technically closed, they could take the NCAA to court and they would win, because there's no legal standing. So for me, what I feel like needs to happen is we've got to I think that really, for the bigger programs, they need to separate from the NCAA first and foremost, because everything that they're doing right now, pretty much, there's going to be a problem if someone takes it to court. So for me, you wash your hands with the NCAA, separate from them, and then you create your own thing. But the players have got to be on some sort of a real payroll. They've got to be employed by the schools, by the conferences, by somebody, and then at that point, now you can start to enforce all the transfer portal rules and laws and all that type of stuff. So I wanted to put that out there as well. But also, man, we did a great job of holding on to Nico, because it does sound like he was kind of flirting around with that portal last night. I don't know how much he was actually flirting with it, but he had a couple of those cryptic tweets that he put out there, or a post on IG. And I don't know what, I mean, you could take that a million different ways, but people were taking it and saying, hey, Nico wants to leave. It does sound like, and I get a lot of my information, y'all, from VolQuest, from some other places too, but mostly from VolQuest. And what they're saying over there, at least last night, was that Nico did have several offers from other schools, from other programs, which happens all the time. And that is tampering, because Nico never officially entered into the portal. The tampering thing, it's like that shouldn't even be like, don't even call it tampering anymore, because there's no consequences to doing it. Everyone is doing it. And I hope that Tennessee's doing the exact same thing. But it does sound like either Nico and his family, or Nico and his family and his team, or some sort of somebody that is a rep from Nico's camp came out and spoke with the staff. Sounds like about the offensive line, what's going to be going on with the wide receiver room. And also, how is the scheme going to change? All the stuff that all of us have been talking about for such a long time with this team. We've got to get things fixed. We've got to get it moving in a positive direction. Now, for me, some people were kind of mad at Nico for what he did, but for me, I think that that's a positive sign that he wants to win. There's a lot of dog fight and hunger that I see coming from Nico, and I've seen it pretty much since he's been in high school. A lot of little things here and there, but since he's been up on campus, when I really started to see that light turn on, and him start to move more towards being that real dog, that real leader, was in the second half of the Alabama game. Whenever he came back, he looked like a different Nico, where he, graduated from being a freshman, even though, a redshirt freshman, to really being kind of like a vet, to saying, hey, this is my team, and I'm going to make sure that I do whatever I can to put us in the best place to win, and stop being so, hey, I've got to, be this game manager and stuff, because that's how he was playing before. But I'm going to tell you, in that game that we just got blown out in versus OSU, the way that he played in that game, it was like 10 notches above that. In Georgia, I think he did some really nice things too. So Nico is taking the correct steps. We needed for someone to be a representative for all of our nation, to talk to the staff and ask those questions. I don't know specifically what the questions were, but we told you, offensive line, wide receiver, scheme. So it was something to do with those things. That's huge, man. Like, we needed somebody to do that. And, I think that that's going to make the staff start to change some things, look at themselves and say, hey, we've been going too slow with a whole lot of this stuff. We also heard from Coach Heupel, from several other coaches, and from Nico himself, that he needs to be a better vocal leader. I think that he's taken the steps towards what we need him to be next season for us to be a very, very dominant team. Now, the bad news with Nico kind of, not putting those rumors to bed about him entering into the portal is that it does also sound like Mike Matthews hit the portal because he thought that Nico was going to be hitting it, or he wasn't sure if Nico was going to stick around. Now, I would have to anticipate that with them being teammates, quarterback, wide receiver, I'm sure that they have each other's phone numbers. And I don't know if Mike Matthews reached out to Nico. I don't know exactly what happened there, but this is what we're being told. This is what I've read. And if y'all have some other information, please do let me know down inside of the chat, and I will get to it. But it sounds like at 10:30 last night, Mike Matthews asked for the transfer portal papers. I guess he filled them out, and he's not officially in the portal until tomorrow. If I'm not mistaken, it could be Tuesday. I've seen some varying things on that. It's either 24 hours or it's 48 hours. I don't know either way. At this point, it sounds like he is kind of leaning towards hitting that portal. But since Nico is sticking around and Nico is trying to bring Mike Matthews back, the staff is working on it. I'm sure that he's going to get a little bit more money. We're going to have a good plan in place for him as well. The same thing that Nico wanted to see, we're going to have to give to Mike Matthews. We probably had to give to all the other players that Tennessee had to retain behind the scenes, because, see, a lot of this stuff that we're seeing right now, I'm sure there were several other players that are big name players that this stuff didn't leak out with. But the staff, I'm sure that they're going through hell right now. Spire, everybody, they've got a lot on their plates. And not to say necessarily that the staff is going to be directly involved with, the contract portion of it and all that, but they do have to have some sort of a say with Spire as to, hey, we can allocate these many funds to this player, to X, Y, and Z player. But I think that ultimately speaking, this is just my perspective on, is Mike Matthews going to come or stay? Actually, before I get to that, let me see what y'all think about it. I want to see what y'all think about it first. Let's see. How's everybody feeling on it? So the poll right now, we've got 64% feels positive. They think that Mike Matthews will stay with Tennessee, and 36% thinks that he will go on to a different program. All right, so that's pretty interesting. So for me, I think that he's going to stay. I think that he wants to be here. I think that's why he chose us coming out of high school. He really likes Nico. He likes the idea of this offense, of what it was back in 2022. And he sees himself as a player that could be like a Jalen Hyatt, maybe even better. I'm sure that inside of his mind, he thinks that he can be better. And that's what he should think. I think that he is a better player from a talent perspective than Jalen Hyatt was. And it's not because Jalen Hyatt was a 3-star and Mike Matthews was a 5-star. But if you look at the actual skill set and stuff, man, Mike Matthews has it all. He's a player that, if he stays in the portal, he can go wherever he wants in the whole country. And that's because he is that damn good. So the staff understands that. The staff is not going to let the cornerstone pieces of our team, especially offense or defense, special teams, it doesn't matter. But with the offense, when we have a generational type of a talent like Nico, we're going to make sure that he's got the correct pieces with him, especially if they've kind of been around before. That's why Brazel stuck around. That's why we helped to convince him to stick around. Same thing for Nico. And I think the same thing for Mike Matthews. We're going to figure it out. Like, whatever we need to do, we're going to get that done. If that means that maybe some other players or something might have to get cut, or, however that has to go, I think that we're going to pull out all the stops for Mike Matthews. And I honestly speaking, y'all, I personally would not be surprised to see him, maybe take his name out of the portal or come out publicly and say that he's sticking with Tennessee before today ends. I think that that's what's going to happen. I think that before tomorrow, we're going to know that Mike Matthews is all Vol, but that's just up until that spring portal, because we all know that that's a whole different deal. We'll see what happens between now and then. But those are the opening thoughts for me. I think that Mike Matthews is going to stick around with Tennessee. He actually went to high school down the street from where P and I grew up at. So we know the area very well. We know the mindset very well. And, Mike Matthews is a dog. Seen him play for a long time. And, excuse me, he strikes me as a player that is very loyal, but also he understands what he offers, what he brings to the table. And as long as this staff is willing to make the changes that they needed to make any daggone way to put this team in the best position to win, then Mike Matthews will be back, and he's going to have a hell of a season next year. He's going to be wide receiver number 1. So let me get to some of y'all's thoughts. With all that being said, let's get to my dog right here, 10 Vols 1084. What's going on, brother? Saying, I saw a comment yesterday that Insider said Mike told the coaching staff literally 15 minutes before he announced the opinion is that he is gone from the Vols. Really? So where did you see that at? So I did see that he didn't tell the staff until pretty late. I have seen that floating around, but I haven't necessarily seen it from any of the insiders that they feel like he's going to be gone. Yeah, I haven't seen that. So I would like to know exactly what you saw on that. Let's get to my dog D Taylor. NIL has ruined our sport, boys. Yeah, I don't even know if I can say that it's the NIL that's ruined it. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's the lack of the people at the top wanting to hold on to all of the money and not wanting to share it with the people that are, doing all the, real hard work. I think that that's what the real issue is, because the players need to be paid. I mean, there's no reason. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The players have got to get paid, and NIL is never going to go away. Even if we go to like a revenue share model or anything, you cannot limit how much money a person can make off of their name, image, and likeness. So there's just a lot of federal laws involved, and that's the problem. Is that they went to, a place, schools and stuff to try to, basically just make money off of these kids. This is free labor. Or at least it was before, and they're trying to keep it free. And really, most the money that's coming out now from NIL, that's coming from guys that are people that are donating and stuff. That's coming from the boosters, from the donors and all that. That's where that money's coming from. It's not coming from their pockets. That's the real issue. So once they step out of the way, and once they say, hey, we're going to do it correct, and we're going to look at everyone involved and not just our pockets, and make sure that the fans can have a good time with this and all that type of stuff too, then we'll have some real rules in place. And college football is never going to go back to being how it was before, but it's going to be better than what I think it is right now. And right now, it is. It sucks. It's tough because you do all, especially for these coaches, man. You do all this hard work. You spend all this time not just coaching, but they're on the road all the time. They're on the phone all the time, talking to different families and different players and stuff and coaches. They do a lot. They invest a lot of time in this. So it sucks for them to invest so much time to bring some of these, especially high caliber players up on campus, for them to say, hey, look, you didn't play me enough, or I didn't get enough touches or whatever. You know, you looked at me wrong. I'm about to hit the portal. That is tough. And something does need to change there. Now let's get back down to some more of these from John Clevenger. What's going on, buddy? Saying this is what happens when the play calling is this bad and the player rotation is this bad. Yeah, that's the thing. And I just talked about those coaches, how much work they have to put in, but you still have to understand that this is what the job is at this point. You either want to do it or you don't. If you don't want to do it, then you need to go do something else. But if you want to continue to be a college football coach on this level, there's a lot of stuff that you're going to have to do, and you have to switch it up. So playing players more. Like let's talk about Coach Pope, because we're losing 6 wide receivers, from the portal. At this point, like I said, I do think that we will end up getting Mike Matthews back. I still feel that way. I'm going to bring this up for y'all. Okay, so this is from 24/7 Sports. The players that we've lost to the portal: Squirrel White. We know that he's one of the more recent guys. Caleb Webb, wide receivers, is what I'm talking about right now. Nate Spillman, brother of Edwin Spillman. Nathan Leacock, he was a really big one for me. Being an underclass guy, man, with that 6'3", 215 or 217 pounds, we literally talked about how he is bigger and faster than Jeremiah Smith. Literally. He was a true track guy, just like, Jeremiah Smith was too. He might just be slightly bigger, but he is bigger. How do you lose a player like that? He never even saw the field. That is a problem. I'm not going to lie to y'all. That is a major problem. Like, they were saying he couldn't catch the ball. You're an SEC football coach, man. You can't teach somebody how to catch a football. That's your job. You got to be better at that. Nimrod's also gone. So is that all 6 of them? Or obviously Matthews will be the other one, and he hasn't shown up just yet. But so a lot of wide receivers leaving from Tennessee's roster. So my thoughts on that, y'all, is number one, I think that most of those wide receivers, I don't want to say that they were asked to leave, but I do think that we probably didn't fight that hard to keep them or anything like that, because I do feel like we said, hey, y'all just aren't picking it up. Whoever's fault that is, I put it on the coaches. I don't know what the players are doing from a work perspective because I'm not up there. Of course, the players have to do their part too, but I'll put it on the coaches. All those guys were pretty highly rated. Squirrel might have been a 3-star. He might have been a 4-star on some sites. But Chaz Nimrod, 4-star. Caleb Webb, 4-star. I know that Nate Spillman, he was a 3-star. Obviously, Mike Matthews, 5-star. And then with Nathan, he was a 4-star. I think he might have been a 5-star at one point. But anyway, the whole point is they were very highly thought of. I feel like there is an issue with the coaching. I don't think the Coach Pope needs to be fired. I don't really, call for people's jobs. You got to do something pretty outrageous for me to call for your job. But he's new to coaching. He's done some nice things. I really like what he did in the offseason, something that we had kind of highlighted with hitting the wide receivers with the pads and making them catch the football through contact, something that we saw we had been struggling with versus teams like Georgia that would hold you and mug you, and we wouldn't see those calls. You got to be able to be a dog and make those catches anyway. So I like to see that from them. I like that our wide receivers are physical and that they block, but there are some things. I don't know how much of this is just on the wide receivers themselves and how much of it is more from a scheme perspective. But man, there was very little separation. I think that is more from the scheme. The route combinations were poor, and we looked at that yesterday compared to 2022, where we had where we had rub routes and things like that. We didn't really see that in 2024. So I don't know how much of that is on Coach Pope, how much of that's on the wide receivers, or how much of that is on the scheme. But either way, like we talked about it, man, Nico, all these other players, if we go out and add any more players, we got to have a plan to show them how things are going to be different moving forward. That's the biggest issue. And that's kind of why P and I have been so vocal since that OSU game. We were pretty vocal for several portions throughout the season. But it just, to me, like, just getting blown out, that was the final straw for me. But it's very serious, y'all. Like, it's not just straight up talent. It's not just one thing. But if there is one thing that we could get fixed that I feel like would make everything a lot better for us, it is the scheme. You've got it. The offense is supposed to be explosive. As soon as it's not explosive, coach, you got to look at what you're doing and say, what do I need to add to this? What do I need to take away? How can I fix this? Because we're getting away from who we're supposed to be. We can't just say, okay, well, we're just going to start running the ball now. That's cool. Run the ball, do that. If teams are going to let you run it, then run it. Take what they give you. But you still got to be able to dictate, hey, we can still, hit those bombs down the field. Our wide receivers can still make things happen because we're going to put them in the best positions to do that. That's where the staff is falling off at tremendously. And that's where we have got to improve at in a very, very major way. Let's see. Who else we got right here? Let's get to Matthew Wilkins. What's going on, Matthew? Saying, sup, Bull? Thank you for joining us, brother. Matthew Helton is saying, Bull, do you want to move on from Pope? Okay, so we just kind of talked about that. If so, who would you hire? I wish we would pursue Wiggins at A&M. Oh, okay. I feel like he only went to A&M because Saban retired. So I felt like Trooper Taylor was at A&M. Is Trooper Taylor coaching running backs maybe? I don't know why, but I thought that Trooper Taylor was at A&M. I really liked Trooper Taylor whenever he was here at Tennessee before. You know what? I like Texas A&M's wide receivers. I don't know much about that coach. A lot of times what I do, y'all, is I look at how the wide receivers play as a group, and then I say, okay, who is this coach? So I can tell you some more wide receivers that I really like is USC's wide receivers. They've got a kid number 6, and I can't think of his name right now. I like him, man. I don't know if he's going to try to hit the portal, but if he does, he will be one that I would most definitely go out and try to get. Most definitely. Everything that we need. He is explosive. He's twitchy. He's very confident, too. He plays with that swag. That's something that I think, I'm not going to say wide receivers have to have that, but it doesn't hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about all the best wide receivers, they kind of all had that to them. And really just all the best players, period. You're going to have a little bit of kind of like cockiness to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to be very, very confident to be able to play at this level and to be, really good at this level. You got to have a high level of confidence. So I'm looking for those types of players, man. Like, to me, that's what I'm looking for. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be, super sad if we move on from Coach Pope. I'm not saying that he needs to be fired. I think that there's some other things that could also be changed that need to be changed too, because you could have the best wide receivers coach in the whole world. You could have the best wide receivers in the whole world and all that. But there's a lot of things. Football is just one of those games where so many things have to go right. And we don't always see that, right? Like, not as fans. We're just looking at, oh, wow, that's a long touchdown pass. We don't look at all the work that went into that touchdown pass. Football is the ultimate team game. So I think that it would almost be kind of like half-heartedly doing something if you only change one coach. If you're only saying, hey, we're going to fix wide receivers, because you can fix some things on the offensive line. You can fix some things inside of that quarterback room. Nico wasn't perfect. I think Nico is a dog. But, yeah, he was a freshman. This was his first year really starting. He had some growing pains. There's some places that he needs to, keep on getting better at too, and he will. I think that this whole team will. So, no, I'm not 100% out on Coach Pope. I just want to see him make some changes. Let's see. Who's the next one right here? So from Michael Shaw saying, I'm gonna keep Mike around. You'd have to promise him that we are bringing back the 2022 playbook. Otherwise, nothing will change. Okay, I see what you're saying right there, Mike. Yeah, I think so too. That's pretty much what we're saying. You're gonna have to show them that what we did before, the Tennessee of before, when the wide receivers was just getting wide open. We can go back to that, y'all. I promise. You can always scheme people. There's an answer to every single problem, especially in football. It's just a game. There's always, there's a very solid answer to it, because, see, the whole thing is with football, especially even like with these better teams, like you can look at Georgia. They're going to do, like, you know what they're going to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, hey, this is cover 3. So, this cornerback is going to be playing this far off. They're going to stay this far off. And they're going to take away one thing, but the other thing is there. So you have to find a way as a coach to hit the open spots with different route combinations and things. And we've got the staff that's smart enough to do it. I don't know if they've been stubborn or what the heck's been going on, but we just got to start to open things up. Let me get to this one from Mr. Breeze. It's the lack of structure around NIL, not NIL. There it is. That you said that a lot better than I did. That's exactly what it is. It's the lack of structure around the whole thing. And to me, NIL isn't so much what the issue is. It's the transfer portal, because you could pay a guy, like if somebody wants to come play at your program for whatever amount of money, right? And if the transfer portal stuff is fixed, where people can't just transfer all the time, then they're kind of in that contract, right? They're kind of stuck there. It's just like NFL, where, you have to wait till your contract is up. You have to wait for certain things. There has to be a structure to it before you can just move around. To me, that's the real issue. It's more the transfer portal, not so much NIL. But yeah, NIL is going to be a problem too, because the money will run out. I don't know how long. I don't know how long and deep some of these folks' pockets are. I'm sure some of them are billionaires. They could probably keep on spending, but at some point it is going to run out. Matthew Wilkinson, honestly, if they can just get Matthews to stick around, they'll be fine from a talent standpoint at receiver. 2022, they played with 3 starters and Keaton coming off the bench. That's 100% true. This is something too, y'all. If y'all have been around this channel since the offseason, we talked about it, man. Is the wide receiver room too deep? Because, man, last season we had a lot of people that could play, and it just turned into, well, we've got all these people, but let's only play 3. Like we barely played anybody else. So I don't know if, excuse me. Obviously, that's a very good problem to have, but you have to be able to hold on to your players. You have to be able to play them and keep everyone happy. And sometimes whenever you have more players, it's a little bit more difficult to navigate. How do I get all of these guys in? Because at this point, y'all, everyone's got to see the field. Everyone needs to get some touches or they're going to be gone. So I think that Tennessee will probably go to the portal to try to add, I think at least 2 wide receivers, even if Matthews comes back. And again, if you're just now joining us, I do think that Mike Matthews will come back for us next season. I actually want to get to I want to get down here and see, did I get a response to what 1084 said about people feeling like Mike Matthews wasn't coming back? Okay, I don't see one in here, but if anyone else has heard that some of the insiders have been saying that they're leaning more towards Mike Matthews not coming back, if y'all could let me know where y'all are hearing that from and maybe what they said, that would be great, because that's something that I personally haven't seen. I haven't looked everywhere. Some of y'all have, you might have better sources or, whatever access to information than what I have. So let's see. Where are we at? Okay, give me a second, y'all. Okay, this one right here from Birds, Bugs, and Bait. Okay, cool. I like that. I wasn't as worried until Squirrel and Matthews. Yeah, so Squirrel was really good too. Squirrel, especially back in 2022, man, he made some really tough catches. He's a tough player. He's going to be good, I think, wherever he goes. Hopefully he can, get himself back healthy and stay healthy. I want to see all of our guys that played with us. I want to see them do well. I know some people might not feel the same way, but I do. I wish them all the best, and I am going to be cheering for them unless they're playing up against Tennessee. But I think that Squirrel is a guy that if you look at Braylon Staley, I think that Braylon Staley can mimic a lot of the stuff that Squirrel did for us, even at his best. Braylon Staley is actually bigger. I don't know. He's probably just as fast too, but I saw a lot of burst out of him. He looked really good. Like, we saw some burst that we haven't seen in a while on some of those wide screens. So I feel okay right there. But I think that you're right, though. Losing Squirrel and then also losing Mike, that makes the Squirrel loss sting a little bit more. That makes the Nathan Leacock loss sting a little bit more to me, because Mike Matthews was a guy that's versatile enough to play inside or outside, so slot or on either the or on either of the outside spots, and he can do it all at a really, really high level. So he's a guy that we absolutely, there's really no way for me to sugarcoat this for you. We have to get him back. Like, he's one that I think that we have to get back, because he will be wide receiver number 1 for us next season. Can we go out and find a really good player inside of the transfer portal? I think that it's possible, but I also, like we touched on, because of the way that the offense, like the wide receivers have looked inside of the offense over the past couple of seasons, I think it'll be a little bit of a tougher sell, and it might cost us a little bit more. It just might, and that could take away from what we might need at some other spots, and that is a really tough place for Tennessee to be in. So it's really bad timing. But again, man, the coaching staff has got to learn from this. You got to play the freshmen. You can't just say that they're not ready. You gotta go get them ready. Put them in the game. You got to find ways to get people open. You got to find ways that we should be trying to score 60 points every single game. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but that should be the goal. Like, we should actively be trying to do that, right? Like, look, if it's halftime, if we've only got 18 points or 17 points or something, hey guys, we got to start picking it up. We only got 17 points, even if we're winning 17-0. Guys, we got to pick it up. There's a standard here, 60 points a game. We got to try to get to that. Like, I think that sort of sense of urgency is what Coach Heupel had before. And we lost that from the offense. We lost that from the defense too, because we just started sitting back. Like, get more aggressive with everything. And actually, I'm gonna pause from the chat here, y'all, for just a second, but I am also gonna talk about this because positive news. It does sound like in January, Tennessee is about to get very aggressive, okay? Very aggressive inside of that transfer portal. And we all know what's gonna be happening in January, really over these next couple of weeks. More of the teams that are in the playoffs are gonna start to lose. So I do think that maybe Tennessee, I'm just speculating here. I don't know nothing. I'm just speculating. Maybe Tennessee has already started to reach out to some of these players. Maybe we're doing a little bit of tampering of our own, which we should be doing because everyone else is doing it. Maybe we've been tampering, and there's some players that have said, hey, look, once this whole thing is done, I want to finish out with my team. Maybe some wide receivers, guards, tackles, whatever Tennessee feels like we need. They're saying, hey, I am listening. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we've been talking to the agents, whoever it is, because it does, to me, feel like the insiders know something because they pointed to this month. They've been pointing to next month. They've been pointing to it for a couple of weeks now. So I think that they know something. I think that a lot of this stuff was about to happen anyway, as far as the players leaving, because we wanted to upgrade there, and we've been kind of actively scouting. So I think that that's a very positive look. But it does feel like Tennessee is about to spend some money. I don't know if I want to say that too loud because you don't want for folks to, catch wind of that and start just, holding us hostage, making us pay them too much money. But I do think that Tennessee is willing to spend. And I do think that we can find some really good players inside of the portal. I just don't know if we can find one necessarily that's going to be as good as like a Mike Matthews because his upside is so high. He's a young guy. He's got 2 more seasons left. A lot of the players that Tennessee will probably be able to get might be, like one-and-done types of players, which I think is fun. But what does that do to the chemistry of your room? Because like we talked about, spring portal's coming up too. You add too many wide receivers or too many running backs, too many at whatever position, or you add the wrong ones, all of a sudden, some of the underclassmen that we brought in that, were very close to seeing the field and doing some nice things, all of a sudden now they want to hit that portal. So it's so difficult. It's such a fine line that I think that everyone's having to walk right now, inside of our program and really inside of everybody's program. But what cures it all, y'all, what will cure it all is winning. Whenever you win, folks want to either stay with you or folks want to come play with you, and they will take the discounts to do it. That's where we got to get to. That's where the sense of urgency has got to be on, hey, look, we kind of, we did some good things over these past few seasons. We built up to something, but now we got to get over that hump. Now we got to turn into champions. We got to start producing more NFL draft picks so that what we're going through right now, it won't look the same come 2 or 3 years from now. You got to look at the long game, and you got to go all in to make that happen. I think this season, because Nico can get it done. We just got to add a few more pieces, change up a few more things, and I think that Tennessee is going to be right back to how we felt heading into this season. Okay, so I think that that's pretty positive. Hopefully, y'all feel like that's positive too. Let me get to the next one right here. Did I get to this? No, from Matthew Wilkins saying Staley, Matthews, and Brazel play Trav if you're gonna play 4. Yeah, I mean, listen, for sure. Like at this point, y'all, the true freshmen are gonna pretty much have to play. They're gonna have to play some. I mean, and that's why you gotta be trying to score 60 points to get the guys in the game more, to rotate in more. If I'm fine with us going tempo, if we can be effective doing it, if we can score doing it, I don't care. The offense can be simple if it works, if it's quick. Hey, we're scoring quick. Boom, 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 boom. Get a whole nother, get some more people in. Running backs, tight ends, maybe even quarterback once we get up a whole bunch. Wide receivers for sure. Rotate in bodies, but we've got to be successful on the field, I think, to be able to rotate in as much as we probably need to. But we're going to have to force those guys out there. Travis Smith, I know he's getting ready. Jackson, Dotson, those guys are getting ready. All of our freshmen, if you are a freshman, if you're about to be a freshman in the 2025 class at the University of Tennessee, you had better be getting ready. You better be preparing like you're going to play from day one because you're going to have your opportunities. You're going to have them. Go get it. You know what I'm saying? Come in ready to daggum play. We need ballers. All right. We need folks to step up and be ballers. Let's get to Michael Shaw. The videos you just put out comparing the 2022 offense to the current offense is shocking. Why receivers didn't come to Tennessee for this playbook? Yeah, that's why we wanted to show it to you. And I know that some of those plays were actually run pass option plays, but what you have to understand is what I did is there were several other scoring touchdowns from 2024 that was off of the same source of looks. So we were just basic on offense, period. It was nothing like 2022 where you see all the different rubs and crosses and different just routes, period. A lot of stuff that it just got so bland. I don't know where that came from, but it got way too bland. And we're seeing what happens whenever you play like that. So again, I think it's kind of like a slap in the, I don't want to call it a slap in the face. I think this is like a wake-up call to our entire staff, starting off with Heupel. Now, will he make any changes to his staff? I don't know that he will, but I mean, wouldn't that say something though? Wouldn't that tell us something about just how serious he is about getting stuff fixed? You know, if we saw some type of movement, even if it's not about firing, maybe, hey, let's bring in another analyst here. You know what I'm saying? Let's bring in somebody else with a different pair of eyes, somebody who might be able to coach to this certain technique or something. You know what I mean? Because I think that Danny White would give him the funds to be able to go do that. Yeah, Danny White's about winning. Coach Heupel's about winning too. I don't know what happened. I almost want to say maybe he got a little bit too laid back or maybe a little bit too patient. It's hard for me to say, but Coach Heupel is a good coach. He's going to get it figured out. So I have a whole lot of confidence in how we're going to be looking moving forward. Excuse me. Let me get to the rest of these. Where are we at now? Okay, so from Matthew Wilkins is saying, and just dial some plays up for them boys. Nico is going to make those throws next year, no doubt. Yeah, man. Nico is going to be, and that to me, that is the biggest selling point of them all. Who wants to come play with Nico? Because if you can't show nothing else, you can show him throwing the ball like 70 yards down the field with the flick of a wrist on the run in critical situations. Think back to that Arkansas game, fourth quarter, gotta have it. He's scrambling out and stuff, running around, looks down the field. I mean, he was running to his left, flips his hips, flicks his wrist, and he hits. I mean, Dante Thornton in what, double, triple coverage or something. You cannot coach that. Like, you either got that type of talent or you flat out don't. And he's had several throws like that. So Nico's stand was the biggest thing. I think we all know that. That was huge because I think that he is such a big selling point that we can still go get some talent. We can still bring some things in, but we will have to talk about, hey, these are what the changes will be. And I think that's why Mike Matthews will stay with Tennessee, because where's he going to go? I'm hearing all this talk about Georgia. Do you think that Mike Matthews wants to go down there and play with Gunner, sorry-ass Stockton? No, he don't want to go. What are their wide receivers even doing? Their wide receivers are always average. You know what I'm saying? Like, they always underperform. They always have five-star guys that pretty much don't do much at Georgia, but then they go on to the league and then they start to look good. You know what I'm saying? They've had a couple of guys here and there, but they ain't never been one of those types of programs, and Kirby Smart is still there. They're going to be who they have been. Team full of wide receivers that drop the damn football. He don't want to go play for them. Does he want to go down? Does he want to go down to like South Florida or something? No, because Mario Cristobal showed you that he's going to blow it in the biggest games possible. Who all did he lose to? Syracuse, Georgia Tech? I think they might have lost to them again. Iowa State. How do you lose? Even if Cam Ward goes out in the second half, that's not a game that y'all should have lost, man. Like, your roster was way better than theirs. So I don't think that he would do that either. Would he go play with the Buckeyes? I don't know. I think there was one of his top schools. They're doing a good job with their wide receivers. It's a very deep room. Where else could he maybe go? Maybe Texas. I mean, those wide receivers didn't do nothing this season. I think that their leading receiver right now is their tight end. And they've got several studs. They've got like 3 or 4 or 5 stars. Mike Matthews is going to stay at Tennessee, y'all. I mean, that's just where I'm at with it. It wouldn't make too much logical sense for me for him to go anywhere else. He might be pissed off about whatever he's pissed off about, and maybe he needs to prove a point. Maybe he needs to let them know, hey, look at me. You know what I'm saying? I'm right here. Don't forget about me. Sometimes you do need to do that. I think that was needed. But Mike Matthews, I do believe is gonna be back. I don't know where else he could go. Even with I think how we underperformed at wide receiver this season. I think that the upside here at Tennessee is higher than anywhere else that he could go to. All right, let me get to some more of these. I hope that I didn't miss none, y'all. Let me make sure that I didn't miss any. Okay, so I think this one right here from the Wise Man. This is the first. This is the first that has had me worried. Matthews is an actual dog and true blue chipper. Yeah, he really is. He really is. He's gonna be special, but I think that we don't have to worry about it too much more, y'all, or for too much longer. I think that he's gonna end up going on back home. Now let me get to this one also from the Wise Man saying, with only 81 scholarships available, we needed to move 12. I think just to make sure, or I'm sorry, I think just to make room for the deep class in 2025. But I don't know. I think Mike Matthews was part of the plan. Yeah, I don't think he was part of that plan either, for sure. And yeah, we're still on that scholarship limitation, which I think that ends this season. I don't know. I could be off on that. I don't recall. But it's supposed to be coming up here pretty soon. So we are limited a few scholarships. The thing too about it, y'all, is that with NIL, you can just pay for the kids, scholarship stuff. You can say, hey, look, this part of the NIL is going to be, this is your room and board and all that type of stuff. So you can throw that in there too. I think that Tennessee has the money to at least be able to do that if we really need to go out and get some more players and be up to, a full 85 scholarships. I think that we can do that. I don't think that that's out of the question necessarily, but that is an excellent point that we do have to continue to make room. We've got to continue to make the roster better, and you're only as strong as your weakest link. Not to call those guys that are leaving weak links necessarily, or our weakest links, but sometimes you do have to continue to get better, and you got to free up space to do that. All right, let me get to. I think I might have missed this one right here from Birds, Guns, and Bait, saying maybe Nico can toss it to himself. That's pretty funny, man. Yeah, Nico wouldn't be staying if there wasn't a real plan about the wide receiver room. That's another very positive thing, is that in those talks, we know that he's looking at the wide receiver room like, dang, it's very thin right now. And Nico, his whole family, listen, they totally get it. I mean, those are football people. You know what I'm saying? Like they get it. They know that at any time, if you don't have the depth, you might not, you're going to run out of people. You got to have that depth. So you need to be 2-3 deep. At every single position. So he's looking there. He's like, dang, there's only, like 3 scholarship guys on campus right now. And, we just ended up, losing one of them. Maybe what's the plan? So I think that they probably have all come together. And I think that they all know maybe behind the scenes that Mike Matthews is going to end up coming back. It's probably some minor contract stuff that's getting ironed out before they come out publicly with it. But that's where I think that we're at. And also Nico's pops, I saw something on social media where he's coming out and he was just kind of like making a lot of the situation with everyone freaking out about Nico and stuff, and basically saying, look, man, Nico's coming back, and he just told us all just to chill, and I think that part of that was also some to do with Mike Matthews. I think that they know something. I think that they know something really, really good for us. Whether that means that Mike Matthews is going to be coming back, or whether they know, hey, there's somebody else that maybe we could bring in, or a few more people that we're going to bring in that could maybe replicate in some ways what Mike Matthews could do. I think that's kind of where it's at. But let me get to some more of these. From Dustin Young, does Boo Carter moving to offense have anything to do with Matthews' decision? So that's an interesting question, Dustin. Number one, I don't think that Boo Carter is primarily moving to offense. I've seen some people throwing that out there. I think he's still going to be playing defense. I think that he wants to play both. And I think that his role on offense is going to be pretty limited. I don't think that would have anything to do necessarily with Mike Matthews, because Mike Matthews is more of an he's more of an outside wide receiver, whereas Boo would be, I think, more of a slot guy. So he's not going to be, Boo Carter's not going to be taking away reps at wide receiver from Mike Matthews, if that's what your question is. So I don't think that those two have anything to do with one another. Now, whatever deal Boo got here recently, that could have something to do with Mike Matthews hitting the portal. Maybe he said, hey, look, if you're going to pay Boo like that, we came inside of the same class, you're going to pay me some more too. And again, from what I've heard, it sounds like Mike Matthews is hitting the portal, or he did hit the portal more because he didn't know what Nico was going to do. I haven't heard too many talks about money, but there's always some sort of money involved with this stuff. Let me see who else we got. From Riley Helton. What's going on, Riley? Saying Spillman said that they did not like the wide receivers coach. Yeah, so I've seen some of that too floating around about how, the players that left, some of them were saying that they didn't really like Coach Pope. Now you have to understand that that's pretty typical. On a football team, I've seen this. Oh man, I mean, I feel like every single year that I've ever played football or just been around football, period, that the players that aren't getting to play as much, they got something bad to say about about their coach. It's like, well, this coach is this coach is that, because they're not playing. Sometimes the players need to look themselves in the mirror. I'm not necessarily speaking for our players on this or the players that just left, but y'all get my point, right? That's pretty typical. They feel some type of way because they didn't get to play, which goes back to one of my previous points that a lot of these guys probably play here, but they just didn't. And some of the stuff, I don't know exactly what they said because I haven't read it personally. I've seen what people have said, but I do think that there's some things that Coach Pope can do better. He's got to find ways to play players more. So hopefully he's not the issue, but if he is the issue, that should be a pretty easy fix. I'm just going to tell you, if Mike Matthews says, hey, look, for me to come back, Coach Pope got to go, Coach Pope is gone. I mean, it's as simple as that. I'm not saying that Mike Matthews would do that. I'm not saying that that's anything to do with what's going on with Mike at this point. But if it is the case, best believe that the players are going to get precedent. Those types of players like a Mike Matthews, he can make those types of calls for real. Massive Chaos is saying Coach Pope seems to have been the problem. Yeah, man. A lot of folks are talking about Coach Pope. Matthew Wilkins is he's saying and boo too from my previous comment. I don't remember what the previous comment was. I might have already addressed that because we just talked about boo. I know I'm a little bit late. I'm a little bit behind on these chats. Panama Jack saying Jason Jenkins, he was was he productive on the defensive line? FSU fan wondering how productive was he with Tennessee. Yeah, so Panama Jack, listen, Jason Jenkins is a very good football player. He most definitely is. I think that he would be an upgrade over what y'all have right now for sure. He played strong side in, so they're not really pass rushers per se. They're more of like the run stoppers, but he did move around. I think that he gets good push, good pressure. I think that he's a very good football player. I'm not crying that he left, but that's just because our defensive line it's really deep. We've got a lot of players. That's the only reason. It's not that he wasn't good. It's just because we have more good players as well. So yeah, I think that he would be a great pickup for y'all for sure. I think he would be a really, really, really nice piece for y'all. Let me see who else we got. Okay, excuse me. Okay. I'm still trying to get over this cold, y'all, if you can't tell. From Matthew Helton. What's going on, Matthew? Saying Holman Higgins was at Bama long term. He coached Smitty, Waddle, Judy, J-Mo, Mechie, Ruggs, etc. Oh, okay. All right. So okay. Yeah. So if you coach guys like that, then yeah. But you also have to understand this too, because what we have seen with Coach Saban is all the assistants and stuff that he's had up under him. They might go on somewhere else. They're not all super productive after they leave. Saban, I think, was the key that kind of stirred things up. There was a certain standard that he, made everyone have to live up to. So, excuse me. So that could be a big part of the reason that those players were that good. But that is that's a nice list of players. They were also very highly rated coming out of high school too. So you got to keep that in mind. Something else that Saban was really good for is playing freshmen at anywhere. It didn't matter. Like, he didn't care. If you could play, if you was better than the seniors, you was going to play as a true freshman anywhere. So I liked that about Coach Saban. I want to see more of that, out of Coach Heupel and out of the staff. And I think that we're starting to figure it out. But we're just going to get to a few more here, y'all. Not going to take up too much of y'all's time today on a Sunday. From David T, we need to let Mike know Vol Nation loves him, and he is our number one wide receiver, 100%. He should have played more this year, but who knows? It was hard for me myself to predict what I would do back when I was 19. Yeah, that's the other part of it too, is that, man, these kids, they've got some major life-changing decisions to make at this age. And that's a very privileged position for them to be in. But yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I know that Mike comes from a really really good family, so that's another part of the reason I do feel like he's going to be coming back to Tennessee. His mom really loves Tennessee. But yeah, so I think that Mike knows that we really want him to stay. At least I hope that he does. And I think that he will be back. Hopefully, we'll see some things about that a little bit later on tonight. All right, let me try to get to some more of these. Let me see. I might scroll down. Let me kind of scroll down here. Okay, here's an interesting one. All Vols Talk Show saying Coach Pope is living off Jalen Hyatt still. Yeah, he's gonna have to find some more. Yeah, I mean, shoot, Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, I guess maybe some of that too. But he still has Brew. I think the Brew's played well. You could also look at what he did with Dante Thornton because people tend to overlook that. Dante Thornton came in the first season at slot, and he wasn't doing very well. But towards the end of the season, as we moved him to the outside, it kind of felt like he started to play a lot better. And then he ended up getting injured. But excuse me, but he was our most consistent wide receiver this season. And I think that some of that you have to give credit to Coach Pope for that. Maybe sometimes it just takes a little bit too long to get acclimated to our system. And excuse me, and also, like we keep on touching on, putting players in the right positions. I'm not quite sure why we, forced Dante Thornton at 6'5", 220 pounds to play inside of the slot. I mean, yeah, if you want to cross train him, sure. But I mean, look at his body type. He's an outside guy. Start him off on the outside. Let him learn that first. Let him get some confidence, and then say, "Hey, man, we about to do something crazy. We gonna put you inside of the slot, get you off the line of scrimmage, so people can't even bump you. They can't even press you at the line of scrimmage. Kind of set it up that way. I think that would have made more sense. But we have to be better moving forward. I fully expect that we're going to be. But that's pretty much it, y'all, for my thoughts. Thank y'all so much for chiming in. I see there are a lot of chats that I could not get to. We're almost at an hour. I only wanted this one to be about 20 minutes, but it always goes longer than I expected it will. But that's just because y'all are great with y'all's questions and just with interacting and all that. So appreciate you greatly. Please do make sure to like and subscribe. I want to tell you one more time, I do feel like Mike Matthews is going to end up a Tennessee Vol, and I know that we're going to be fine. We're going to do whatever it takes coming up next month to put ourselves in the right position, go out and get the correct pieces, make the necessary changes to our scheme, whatever we have to do. Coach Heupel is willing to do it. This is exactly what I think this team needed, and hopefully we'll see ourselves start to get over that hump. But again, please do make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see y'all a little bit later on. Please do enjoy y'all Sunday. Thank you. Peace.